Fellas, I know this weight that I'm towing behind this truck is a joke, but just as a reference point, right? Let's get this thing going. What I wanted to underline is the fact that this thing tries to battle everything out in 9th gear. Shoot, I was going to say 10th, but it just jumped to 8th. And we're going up probably about a 4% hill climb, maybe 5. I mean, it's there. All the little rolling hills were covered in 10th gear at 60 miles an hour. That's not a lot of RPM. I think it's about 1,200, give or take. So it's good and bad. The way they have the tuning, which still amazes me for the fact that they're able to do this, they're pushing a lot of torque on low end for a V8. No, it doesn't compete with the Cummins. There you go. Not one of them 5th gen Cummins, right? But I'll do a separate video about the low end power. I kept trying to tell people, and a lot of people are like, well, you don't drive a Ford, you don't drive a Duramax. Well, lucky you, I've owned both now. The L5P. You know, to my surprise, it seems like the L5P puts up a little bit bigger fight when it's in 6th gear. It really tries to hang on to. Alright. Let's make some distance here. These guys are in a hurry somewhere. Seems like the L5P is really in a hurry somewhere. Well, not in a hurry. It really holds on to that 6th gear and tries to battle everything out in the 6th. But so does this one. It's kind of like hit and miss. I'm going to have to put a lot more miles on this Ford to conclude for sure. But it just seems like the L5P puts up a bigger fight in 6th gear. And with the tuning and the timing, it pulls pretty good. Keep in mind that RPM in 6th gear at 60 is a little bit higher. Not a whole lot, but a little bit higher. So, anyhow. Oh, and the rear end. Oh, I forgot about that. The rear end on the Duramax is 373 versus this one's 331s. So that's definitely gonna play a role in towing. So there you have it. As I'm growing, learning with these new trucks, I will be sharing every step of most of the important steps, at least to me. For the curious ones, you could change out this platform. When you put it in tow haul, it gives you an option. Like, there's fairly customizable, and wisely so. And what I mean by wisely so, strategically, it gives you pretty cool options there. For the curious ones, what's that annoying sound? It's my radar. I'm running the red line 360. Absolutely love that radar. Oh, there's the sheriff up ahead. Anyways, guys, with this towing setup is strategic. There's hope. There's hope for Ford. You still see Ford. I still notice Ford's things day in and day out. But there's hope. Like what really stood out to me is the way the cruise control works. Right, when you turn on cruise control, automatically sets it, which is cool. You know what I mean? Why else would you turn on a cruise control? So little things like that. When you're towing in any setting, eco, normal, or tow haul, this thing is never aggressively resumes its speed. So let's just say, looks like that crossed out, says 58, I'm at 56, right? I'm gonna go ahead and hit resume, and we're going uphill right now. This is about a 4% uphill, and look what this truck's doing. It's not aggressively, it's slowly taking it easy on the equipment, and I absolutely love that, because the Cummins could get aggressive. The Cummins, when you hit a resume button, and it kind of delays it for a little bit, and then it just goes after it really hard. So I didn't like that. So you got to be careful when you resume with the Cummins. But these, they're really easy on themselves, and when there's a big gap. I mean, I just showed you a small one, but even with the Cummins, it seems like it's more of a timing thing with it. It'll approach it softly, and if it can't get it there, then it'll really get after it. So anyways, little things like that go a long way in the longevity of your equipment. Look at those temps. We climbed a little bit, as I said. It doesn't necessarily heat up pretty bad, but that tranny usually kind of hangs out around that temp. The oil temps are usually closer to 200. I mean, that's not far off, 208, but they're usually closer to 200. And that coolant, to my surprise, that coolant, I just expected the coolant to run hotter on this Power Stroke. given the fact that I came from a Duramax, kind of got used to the hotter, a little bit hotter temps on the Duramax, but it seems like it definitely has these temps in check, which better with this little dinky thing. I think that thing's about 7,500 pounds loaded. It's a 30-footer bumper pull, nothing crazy. Given my mileage, 800 miles, ain't no 1,000 miles yet. Probably, not ideal, if you could call it that. But given the speed and the mileage that I have on this truck, I feel comfortable towing with this thing with 800. I'm on a bunch of highways, and I'm not even stressing this thing. In all reality, this thing shouldn't even be breaking a sweat pulling this kind of weight. And for what it was intended, should be nothing for it, I know this video doesn't do this truck justice, and it doesn't put it to the test, but just little hints like that's what I wanted to share. And before I wrap up this video, I wanted to underline something that really stood out to me. It's going to be hard to test this in like extreme case, but on the surface, when I let off the throttle, I don't know if you could hear it. Here, I'll do so. The exhaust brake is there. It's audible. It's definitely physically there as well, meaning you could feel it. But when you're going down a hill and you need that exhaust brake to hold you back, it does not fight back anywhere close to what the Cummins. Now, what I need to test is to haul like a heavy, low-profile gooseneck load, a load on a gooseneck where it's aerodynamic, and, for example, put it in auto, see what it does if I release the accelerator or the brakes at 40, and see how it how it maintains 40. What I just underlined with this truck not having much for an exhaust brake is with the same trailer going down the same hill with my Cummins, it would be slowing me down. And it seemed like this vehicle just kind of struggled to maintain the speed. So that's a big old red flag for me, because when you're hauling with a big load, primarily the low profile loads and the heavy ones, like a bunch of steel, when you let off that throttle, I love the fact that the Cummins would really hold you back or slow you down. I mean, that Cummins carries a punch when it comes to that exhaust brake, and that's a big deal in towing. If you're a trucker, you're not going to argue this. Everybody else out there could argue until they're blue in their face, Duramax, Power Stroke, or Cummins when it comes to horsepower and towing and all this. But as soon as you touch exhaust brake, truckers call them Jake brakes, engine brake, and these pickups, they're exhaust brakes. No one's going to mess with that, because that's your life. You screw up going down a hill and you overheat your brakes, you're dead. Could possibly be dead, and that's scary. It's a fatal mistake. I mean, a lot of people, in a lot of cases. Anyways, I'm not going to get carried away with that. But so to underline my comment about the exhaust brake, I want to see what the computer's going to do when I'm going down a strong hill and I let off at 40 and this thing just wants to, when it's getting pushed hard. Keep in mind, I did downshift a couple gears when I was going down the same hill that I'm claiming this thing doesn't carry a punch like the Cummins going down the hill. So in due time, I want to see at least 1,500 miles at least before I load this thing up. And I mean load it up, with some low profile steel, heavy steel, or a container where there's a lot of drag. Container kind of tests the cooling and the power of the vehicle. I know this thing has no shortness of power. Like there's no issue with that. There's not a whole lot that I could tow with it to really test that power and put it to its limits, because I don't know if these tires can handle that kind of weight. Nevertheless, back to this point, I will keep you updated on the exhaust brake, but there's a lot of things I want to try with this exhaust brake, different scenarios, and it's super important to have the ability to, because that will relate to confidence, right? I mean, I've hauled some heavy stuff with Cummins, and people just fail to think about the braking issue aspect, right? You could take an extra second. Let's talk seconds here. You could take an extra second to accelerate, right? No big deal. But if you're just a second short on your brakes, you'll probably gonna be in a pinch there, in a pickle. You can get yourself in a legal matter, or it could be life or death, like not to be messed with. Oh, dude, that's cool. Someone's flying their little, oh shoot, you can't see in the video. Flying their little aircraft. Anyways, guys, as always, may the Lord bless you. May Almighty find day. And to my regular ones, thank you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for showing up and watching these videos. You guys know I started this thing out just curiosity. You guys started watching. I started posting. Right now, I'm actually putting effort towards sharing. As long as you guys keep watching, I will keep pushing to make these videos short, educational. It ain't about buttons and it ain't about options. There's a time and place for that as well. But my videos are all about real world experience and what I've interpreted from it. You know, an average Joe just working his truck. There ain't no much more to it. Nice thing about it, if I'm gonna commit to implementing this Ford in my fleet, you know, 10, 15, 20 trucks could possibly be tested, being tested, because everyone drives differently. And what I wanted to underline, never have I had a driver come back with just destroyed brakes because he overheated his brakes going down a hill. I've had aggressive drivers that destroyed brake pads, but they weren't destroyed in a matter of a trip. You know, instead of getting 100, 150 out of a set, and the extreme careful guys getting 200,000 miles out of a set of brake pads. I've had guys come back with 50, 60,000. And for the Ford guys, 50, 60 is a lot of miles. But for the Cummins, that's not a lot of miles. That means the guy's hard on his brakes. Never has anyone complained about brakes, going down the hill. And the faster the rotor spins, right? Your rotor is think of it as your wheel. The faster your wheel spins, the harder it's going to heat up. When you're going low speeds, you don't have the ability to overheat your brakes. 30, 40 miles around town and you get on them hard, you'll get them warm, but you're not going to overheat them. Well, with an extreme heavy load, maybe at 40, but at 30 miles an hour, you're not going to overheat those brakes where they just fade on you, unless you're an idiot doing it over and over. But anyways, guys, I got carried away. As always, may the Lord bless you. May Almighty find day, and I will keep you posted. Ciao.